Good evening. I'm Tom McNamara. Cancer. It touches nearly every one of us, including my own immediate family. There will be over 30,000 Arizonans who will receive a new cancer diagnosis this year alone. If you or someone you know has been recently diagnosed, please join me in 30 minutes when we'll have a team of experts here to take your calls, answer your questions, and offer advice about the resources available to you right here in Southern Arizona. Michelle Curlew received just such a diagnosis 15 months ago. Tonight, we share with you the story of Michelle, her family, and her caregivers through Arizona Public Media's latest original documentary, Winning by Living: One Cancer Story.
This program was made possible by funding from Desert Program Partners, local viewers committed to local programming.
Hop in the back where you normally go, okay? Hop in the back, Jack. Hop in the back, Jack. What'd you have for lunch? Did you eat a turkey sandwich?
I almost got hot lunch. Hello.
So how was your day, darling? Do you have a lot of homework?
No, because I did some of it in class.
You do have to clean your room today.
Where's the golf ball? And the great bug race.
Hey, darling.
Okay, hey, I'm home.
Oh.
Are you at the school to pick up Eddie?
We're all here at the school.
I love you. I'll talk to you when you get home.
Okay, I love you too. Bye.
Bye.
What are you doing? Oh, Mac, you gotta scooch over for your sister. Make room because she's got stuff. Dad's home already. Woo, woo, woo.
Ooh, I talked to Gianna today.
There's a young lady at our house. Introduce yourself. Mac is 8 and he Googles everything. And he actually, I think, has the best grasp out of all 3 of them. But I've tried being very honest with them because there's no cure for this particular cancer. You want a snack or do you want to start on your homework?
Could you get me a snack and could I start on my homework later?
When pancreatic cancer spreads beyond the pancreas and enters the liver, the prognosis at that point is really, the goal of treatment is palliation, meaning eventually this cancer will take her life. Most people live with cancer of the pancreas when it spreads months to a year to 2 years.
Good morning. How are you doing? Good. Good.
How's everything going?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I'm doing well.
You busy today? Because we'll be out before 11:30 or by 11:30.
Okay.
As long as I get lunch with Mac, I'll do whatever you want.
Sweet.
We both were married prior. So Trevor was Michael's and Maddie was mine. Trevor, he's 17. He lives with his mom at Fort Hood, Texas.
You okay if we do your push?
Yes, please. We've been very open and honest with them. And I don't want them to ever think that I lied to them. And since we don't know the outcome, we've never done this before, I hope I get it right. So we've tried honesty.
We've toned it down. We don't talk numbers or percentages with them, but they all know that most likely that this cancer is going to kill mommy. But we've never lied to them about it or the fact that it can, or we just don't talk about the numbers.
No, we don't discuss them with our doctor either. Like what are the percentages and chances or longevity or what have you. It's just not, that will not get us to remission.
It's all over the place with what people want to know, what they should know. I'm a believer that they should know what they want to know. It's their body. They're going through the process. Michelle never wanted to be viewed as a number, ever. And so, I think we all have to respect that with Michelle. And, and in my experience, people like that always beat the averages anyway.
Are you wanted in another state and you can't be caught on TV?
What's her latest?
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. It's an aggressive cancer, and we don't know, but there's new science and new possibility, and like the experimental drug, I think There's no reason not to think that I can't make it to remission. I firmly believe that this new science is going to be a way to, I don't know if it would still cure it, but to advance people into remission. I might not get the cure, but to be a part of the cure is kind of awesome.
When I first met Michelle, what came clearly evident from her is her want to participate in a clinical trial to advance our knowledge in this disease. I'm a big believer that any study that I'd offer a patient, if I was in their shoes, I'd want to participate in that study. Namely, I try very hard to make sure that if I have a study available for a patient, regardless of the treatment that they're going to get the standard of care. What we're looking to do is add on to the standard of care to see if we can improve on it. In this study, Michelle was actually only the second person in the country to be enrolled. She was the second person.
So no matter how long or what we do or what have you, like I plan to fight as hard as I promised my kids, I will fight. And I will fight every day until I cannot fight. And that's what I can promise you. I can't promise you how long I'll live, but I can promise you every day I'll fight. And they help, you know, and they're your champions. And it's just, it's the coolest thing. We don't have a choice. Like, we weren't given an option. You know, we were given cancer. And the kids weren't given an option. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but I didn't give them an option either because I'm going to remission. And I didn't allow for them to think otherwise.
3 out of 6.
A lot of people consider the cancer or the pancreatic cancer like terminal. So when you're told that you have a disease that's going to eventually kill you, it's weird because I don't feel like it. Like I just don't, I don't feel like I'm dying, and I don't feel like I'm, you know, that I'm terminal or what have you. So it's kind of strange, but at the same token, they tell you so. So you want to make sure that you plan or prepare, and you have the gift of, you know, you have knowledge, you're going to pass away. And so you take that for what it's worth. And so I think about it. I think about how to teach my children, I think to cope with grief, but without making them grieve early.
One morning, a bird flew up.
I don't want to be mad.
Angie's front porch and
Like in
face.
all of this, I've not felt mad. And I just don't think there's room for that.
Okay, what's next?
I just don't want them to think that I quit. And I think that's the most important thing, is that, you know, I just won't quit. Good morning.
Good morning.
How was your day?
Let's get you back, get you comfy.
You're awesome. Hello. A lot of my friends said, you gave me a wake-up call. Like, they're like, you know, you're going through this. Had you had changed the way I think about my own life? Round 20. Okay. And so they're making decisions based on that. And a lot of people will, they see death, but a lot of people run from it. And they can't be around it, and it's very uncomfortable for them. And I understand that. But there's a lot of tension in the relationships and stuff like that. And I find it more with family than I do with my friends. But yeah, they separate themselves because they don't want to feel the pain. And they, you know, and I get it.
And we've got the pump for the weekend.
You know, you hear people say that she beat cancer or they beat cancer, you know, but then you think, you beat it, but you died. Like, how did you beat it? And it's like, you beat it by the way you live. You didn't, you know, I told Michelle, I said, if this was real, I'd have crawled into a corner somewhere. And she hasn't. I mean, she stood up and said, okay, let's do this. You know, let's dance. And then she went out and she danced, and then she went on a hike, and she took her kids here, and she did that. And she hasn't changed. And she's beaten it.
I don't think you can do it alone. I have a team of hundreds of people who are just the most generous and loving and kindest people in all the world. I watched a nurse, she's administering my medicines and she's saying a prayer, and she gives you a hug too. And then there's other nurses, they might not be praying, but they're thinking positive thoughts for you, or they're encouraging you one way or the other, or they're just hugging you because you just got something that was just really crappy and you just need a hug and you didn't even know it. And they're all like that here. Okay.
You're rolling. It can be very emotional. You get attached to people, you become friends with them. People come here and they feel at home. And I think that is one thing that makes oncology nursing different, because of the fact that we kind of become their family. When they come here so often, we become their family. Of course, we have to see a lot of people not do as well, but I think what's hard for me personally is to see their family going through it, and how painful it is for them to see their family member so sick and not feeling well, and so that for me is the hardest part. I've had patients that I've cared for that I adored, and they passed away, but I have wonderful memories of them. I'm hoping that I've impacted their lives for that short amount of time that I've gotten to know them, but I feel the one that was blessed because they impacted my life way more than I think I could have ever impacted theirs. Michelle is a typical patient, but she's atypical in and of the fact that she's so positive and she's so upbeat when she comes in, and she brings a presence when she comes in just of contentment and joy, and she's really looking at all of this with such a positive attitude.
Any chance it's cooler outside?
Yep.
Awesome. Bye, JJ. Bye, my son. Thanks for your help today. What did you do? I love hearing you. It's all teamwork, right?
Yep.
I know.
We'll see you.
Thank you, ladies. Is this what you want? Because it squeaks. Go. Go get it. Through the table, over the river, through the woods. You come here. So you can hook it up on and carry it like a purse. Carry it across your chest like a knapsack, like any other sacker would have you. I prefer it on my hip when I'm walking around. But I have to be cautious because the chemo goes through your pores. So you have to go potty, you have to flush twice to make sure, and then I clean the toilet bowl and, stuff like that. So I don't go as much in public, and when I do, I try not to touch anything. Madison was just like, Mom, she's like, just sport it. Just wear the bag. Don't worry about what other people think. And I think she's the one that kind of settled me into this just it. Madison is in a place where a lot of these 14-year-old kids are just wanting to be miserable, and I've got a worse life than you do. And Maddie just shakes her head and she's like, are you kidding me? And I think the reality that they're getting, unfortunately, they're losing a childhood. They're more like mini adults, and they have to grow up a little faster.
Well, we have to go to Fry's at some
hours.
point to pick up, after like 2 days, the Fry's on Craycroft? No, Golf Links? They're gonna put your stuff back in circulation.
The haloperidol is getting low too. One refill of 60.
I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. When this first came out, you think about it, like, I don't know if I can go through this. I don't want to go through this. It wasn't because
I did not look at you.
I'll never forget it. I was walking home from the school after walking the kids to school, and I thought about it. I'm like, and I thought about it for 2 steps, and I'm like, no, this is where you want to be. This is who you want to be with. You have 3 children. You love her. So I couldn't imagine running. I couldn't imagine being with anybody else, even going through what we're going through. I don't want to go anywhere else.
No.
The regimen that Michelle is on with the experimental drug and everything, you want that to work because you don't want to go to the next option, because if that next option helps but you've also eliminated another option. You want to put on a strong front for the kids, but then when it's just Michelle and I driving to the cancer center, or sitting in the doctor's office, I get quiet and I just want to curl into a corner and pray that the results come back the way we want him. But she forces me to talk about it. Yesterday was
Touch it, it feels soft. I got dressed up on purpose today. Because it's the 21st round. I need my tumor markers to go down too. They're likely at 1.5.
Okay. Yes.
Today is the MRI results, and it's kind of like this is your, not to be dramatic, but it's like, living or dying or kind of thing. So this will tell you if we're on our path to remission or if we have regression and the disease is grown. So I'm somewhere between wanting to throw up and like, let's go get some pills. This is the part of your life that you don't have control over. And so today, what comes next will just determine what we do. Have a great day. I'll see you later.
Bye.
You should just do a real quick thumbs up, thumbs down. Maybe it's good.
I'm hoping it's good.
It is.
Well, I mean, it's got to be good. I got to project the good.
This is just the first battle plan.
You don't want to lose a battle just to win the war. I want to win all the battles and the war.
Oh, well, you're a soldier. You know better than that. That's not reasonable.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys.
Hello, how are you? How's it going?
Going great. So let me give you those.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm just gonna sit up here, you guys, if you don't mind. So I think really great news with the scans. And I say great news. The cancer in the pancreas remains the same size. It's stable.
Okay.
Spots of the liver have disappeared, and the lesion in the pancreas is not growing. So when we see stable growths in the liver, that's considered a win. In the cancer world, that's considered a win. For those reasons, I want to continue on the same treatment. Michelle, how do you feel about that?
I'm good. I thought maybe you
Good morning.
Good morning.
Going?
How are you doing, Dr. Matsuchi?
All right, we have 2 new patients to go over today.
The first patient is a 55-year-old female. So she's here to see us regarding this new diagnosis, pancreatic adenocarcinoma. It appears to be... Dr. Alcuza is a mentor to me, and he's somebody I work closely with since I'm interested in that field, and we have multiple research projects together.
We're going to follow it up.
In GI oncology, there are some cancers that, the prognosis or survival are only a few months, like pancreatic cancer. The challenge makes us want to step up to it and perform more research and hopefully help patients with those illnesses. So it's a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Oster. My name is Hani Babiker. I'm one of the hematology oncology fellows. I work with Dr. Imad Alcuza, who's one of our gastrointestinal oncologists. So I'll just ask you a few questions, I'll examine you, and then I'll have Dr. Alcuza come in.
Perfect.
Okay? Being diagnosed with cancer is a very tough, it's a very tough diagnosis for some patients. You're living your normal life and all of a sudden you hear from the doctor you have cancer. So, can you tell me a little bit why you're here?
They did a CAT scan and then the ER doctor told me it's pancreatic cancer.
You look at that patient as if this person in front of you who has the illness could be a brother, a sister, a father, or a mother. Are you taking any pain medication?
Only at night.
You work at the cancer center and you talk with patients, treat patients, communicate with colleagues, and when you go back home, you think about every single patient. And you go think of yourself, did you make the right decisions? Did you provide right chemotherapy? And when things don't go right, that pain stays there for some time.
We usually have him for every other Christmas. He flew in last night. I was asleep, so when he flew in. But I woke up and we had dinner together before going back to bed.
But I just found the hooks.
I'm a bit frustrated thinking it's a year later and I feel like I'm in the same place.
Mom, isn't it perfect?
So we're kind of celebrating that you've lived a year longer, and at the same token, I'm like, okay, well, the second year we have to do more, or we have to fight harder or different or something like that.
Free hugs.
Free hugs all day long?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think it's been hard on the family, and I feel bad. And like even coming up to like the holidays or what have you, I'm like, it would have been way cooler if we got like maybe diagnosed during tax season. Like, you know, I laugh because we come up to Christmas and Michael and I always argue about like how much for the kids. You have all these different pressures, and what I really want is I want my children to understand the whole meaning of Christmas, and it's not the gift, it's the giving, and it's the giving of yourself and saying that this is a part of me and I want to give this to you. And I love presents just like the next person, but I want them to have that, and that's what I have been blessed with in the last year.
Are we going through the entire box, Dad?
There's 2 boxes we have to go through.
Oh, no.
I like Facebook anyway because it's a way to connect, especially with military families and stuff. In the sense of a support system, it's amazing. Hundreds of people. Like I don't know exactly number-wise, or I don't pay attention to that, but like there's just like so many people. You feel like every one of them is there and they're fighting in your corner, and it's pretty incredible. And I want everyone to have that. I think no matter anything that you go through in life, even the great things in life, I wish everyone had someone that said, you know, that was cheering you on.
I made it out of, we put glue like that, and then we put glitter on it, and then we put little macaroni shapes on it.
The tumor is blocking a bile duct that caused the pancreatitis. And then they went in and added, they put the stent in between the tumor and the bile duct to open it up.
How'd you do yesterday with the procedure and everything?
I have like a little bit of the usual discomfort after the procedure. The tumor grew in the pancreas, but it hasn't spread. And so that's very lucky for us, because with that, the next course of action will probably be spot radiation combined with chemo.
Can I do anything for you?
No.
Okay, let me know.
And we kind of knew this was going to happen. Although it still was just like, damn. But people are getting to remission with radiation very successfully. And so I'm excited to try something new. I need to get to remission. So if this is another avenue to remission, and then whatever is the next avenue, and then we just keep going until we find the right one.
She'll undergo surgery.
Yes.
So let's go tell Connie our game plan. The cancers that I treat, you know, pancreatic, liver cancer, stomach cancer, they're often difficult to treat, and namely because they present to us usually late in the game, meaning they have already spread by the time patients have symptoms. Getting issues. She lives in Safford, which is away from us. In other cancers, cure is absolutely the goal. Most patients with breast cancer, if caught early enough, are cured. Same thing with colon cancer and prostate cancer. It's just a matter of us understanding the biology better, coming up with improved drugs to treat them. And I think it's also important to have improved awareness to the community about these cancers. You know, we always hear about breast cancer and prostate cancer in the news. We really don't hear a lot about cancers like pancreatic cancer, yet it's number 4 in terms of death in this country. And as we come down, the advances in the last 10 years have been incredible. By the time I retire, I would hope that we would have a cure for the majority of cancers. I think that's an achievable goal. We're on our way. So I would hope by the time I retire, a disease like pancreatic cancer, that when I'm sitting down with the patient, I'm talking about prognosis, I'm telling them hopefully you're going to live 10 years and beyond, and there's a chance something else might kill you and not this cancer.
I did not want to do radiation in the beginning. I was very afraid of it, and I think I was very afraid of the word. So I'm excited now about radiation. And I think I was getting frustrated about being stable. At 42, stable is not going to be good for me. Remission is what's going to give me a longer life. Chemotherapy will give me a great opportunity to have plenty of time to explain to my children as I'm going to die. But the remission will give me an opportunity to spend a life with them. It's not that I don't have time to be miserable, because I'm pretty sure I could think about it hard enough, and it's not that I don't cry about it, I don't get sad or upset, but I don't want to live there, and I'm living, and I'm not going to let a test or radiation that I don't know about stop me from living. I don't think I'm done. So I'm just going to keep on going. I'm going to keep on going until I can't.
You have cancer. Delivered by your physician, those 3 words can bring on a whirlwind of emotions, fear, anger, confusion. How a patient and their family responds to the news will likely have a significant impact on the outcome of that diagnosis. And so tonight, we offer information and the advice about the resources available to you, a family member, perhaps a friend who's been recently diagnosed. Please call the number on your screen to speak with one of these patient navigators from Arizona Oncology, Tucson Medical Center, the University of Arizona Cancer Center, and the American Cancer Society. Now, these folks have volunteered their time to take your calls, answer your questions, and offer advice about the resources available to you right here in southern Arizona. These phone lines are open now. They'll remain open until 8 o'clock tonight. If the lines are busy, your call may be answered by an AZPM volunteer who will take your name down and your number and then have a patient navigator call you back as soon as possible. We also have links to many resources on our website, and that's azpm.org/cancer. An important note tonight, we're not offering medical advice here. For that, we ask you to please consult with your own doctor. In a few minutes, I'll be speaking with a team of experts who will offer advice as to what to do and what not to do in those first few days, weeks, and months after diagnosis. But first, let's hear from the Curlews and their medical team as to their advice for someone who's newly diagnosed.
Being diagnosed with cancer, it's a very tough diagnosis for some patients. You're living your normal life and all of a sudden you hear from the doctor you have cancer. Some patients would describe it as that the ticking clock just started in their life. And it's very, very tough for families and clinicians. That best advice I give to patients to hang in there, keep up the hope, and try to live with their family around them, try to gain all the support they can, and work with their doctors to fight this cancer and keep looking at the light at the end of the tunnel.
Shot in a beer. I think you need a pad and a pen and a really good level-headed friend. You don't need anybody who's more dramatic than you are. So, and if you're willing to want to live and fight, then you need to find your battle buddy who's willing to want to win and fight with you.
When you go in for your initial consultation, with cancer like Michelle's, that's terminal, we never wanted to know numbers, but we want to know options. So on that first consultation, talk to them about options. What are my options? So if we go option A, is there an option B, C, and D, and so on and so forth? So when you go in there and you get the test results, or you get the results, if it's good, then you're going to proceed on, your current path. But if it's bad, okay, now I got option B. So you have different options. And like Michelle, bring somebody in that's just as strong as you are, or if not stronger. Because if you do get bad news, you're going to need somebody to lean on.
I think the first thing that I would say is let's just take it one step at a time. You know, you can't cross the bridge until you get to it, and you have to kind of take steps up to knowing exactly what's the staging, what kind of treatment you're going to need, you know, what that's going to entail. People hear the word cancer and they automatically think the worst. So I think it's just, okay, one step at a time. Let's see what's the first thing we need to do, and then we will go from there.
I think take a deep breath, get all the facts, because the majority of people that get diagnosed with cancer, they are treatable. They do live a long time. They do survive. There's a chance for cure, is the first advice I would tell them. The second bit of advice I would give them is to make sure they have a good support network. The third thing is making sure you seek care at an institution that really specializes in cancer, and then being treated at a center that also understands the value of healing the mind, spirit, a holistic approach, not ignoring exercise, your diet.
You get this horrible news, and all of your friends and family like just embrace you and love you. I have never felt so happy in all of my life. The intensity of how loved and supported we are is the most incredible. You can't be miserable. I get to know, you know, that we all know someday someone's going to die. And so I think this is just like the blessing is the warning.
Once again, if you or someone you know has been recently diagnosed with cancer, please call that number on your screen to speak with one of these patient navigators from Arizona Oncology, Tucson Medical Center, the University of Arizona Cancer Center, and the American Cancer Society. These folks have volunteered their time to take your calls. They want to help, they want to answer your questions, and help you with advice about the resources available to you right here in southern Arizona. Those phone lines are open now. They'll be open until 8 o'clock this evening. If the lines are busy now, your call may be answered by an AZPM volunteer. They'll get your name and number. They'll have a patient navigator call you back as soon as they can. We also have links to many resources on our website, azpm.org/cancer. An important note now, we're not offering medical advice here. For that, we ask you to please consult with your own doctor. Very, very important. And with me tonight is Lisa Reynolds, who's a patient navigator with the American Cancer Society here in Tucson. Also, I welcome Sherry Romanowski, founder and director of Bagot. That's a community project here in Tucson. It's committed to providing information and education to newly diagnosed individuals with cancer and to their families. And Sean Mulligan. Sean is a nurse coordinator for supportive care for healing at the University of Arizona Cancer Center, and that program offers patients a team of doctors and other clinicians who navigate the patient through the emotional and physical challenges of a cancer diagnosis. And I want to tell you this, all three of our panelists are also cancer survivors. Welcome to the three of you. Thank you so much for your help with this effort. So you're speaking from the heart as well as from your professional perspective, that is, about cancer. You get that diagnosis. Lisa, what's the first thing you do?
Well, I think there's a lot of what does that mean for me, and you know, what am I going to do next, and how is my life going to change, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, personally, I was 8 when I was diagnosed, so to me it didn't mean anything except, am I going to get my milkshake that I ordered for lunch today? Because I just didn't know. But for people that have had the word, it means a whole different thing, and there's a whole new set of fear. And am I going to be able to bring my kid to school anymore? Am I going to be able to work? You know, what do I got to do? And it's kind of a panic that starts.
Sean, talk about that wave of fear that must wash over anyone with that diagnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. The wave of fear is probably the first response. And one of the things that we know is that when that fear becomes prominent, the part of your brain that can actually make decisions and process complex information shuts down. And the part of our brain that kicks in is the fight or flight. So we don't often hear anything else after you have cancer. So I think it's important to acknowledge that that fear is very normal, and it's a very normal response to receiving a cancer diagnosis. And I remember when I was first diagnosed, and I had a lot of anger that went along with that fear. And I remember I was one of the walks over at Reed Park, the breast cancer walks, and it was right after I was diagnosed, I think after I'd started treatment, and I didn't want to be there. And what I was saying was, I did not ask to be in this club. And I did it. My daughter, she was young, and I was there because I wanted her to have this opportunity to feel like she could support women with breast cancer. But those were my initial responses, and they're very normal, and you do get through that.
Sherry, there's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of things on the internet that may be overload. You have family, friends wanting to help out. How do you focus? How do you navigate all that in those early days and weeks?
I think your first reaction sometimes is to jump on the internet, and I think you have to be so very careful. People have blogs out there. There's all kinds of information that's really not accurate. So finding really good resources, which we have put some on your website there, are very paramount to finding and thinking about your care going forward. So it's really, really important to do that, and to find reliable resources. And we're going to be talking about a lot of those this evening. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And once again, we'll let you know, azpm.org/cancer. A lot of resources there, a lot of the things and the people we're talking about tonight. That information is there long after this program signs off tonight. And please call the number on your screen now. Don't hesitate. We have patient navigators from Arizona Oncology, Tucson Medical Center, the University of Arizona Cancer Center, the American Cancer Society, folks who are expert in this area. They volunteered their time to take calls, answer your questions, offer you advice about resources available here in Southern Arizona. Again, we'll keep these phone lines open until 8 o'clock tonight, and if you don't hear from one of our experts, an AZPM volunteer will get your information. We will get back to you with the information you're seeking tonight. Sean, let me get back to you now. There's a thing called transition time. As you're going through all this, you're waiting for a diagnosis. You're waiting for professionals to determine your course of treatment. You don't have to just be there frozen. You can be doing a lot of things, getting your battle plan, your team together in that transition time.
Yes, and the waiting is probably one of the hardest things that any patient goes through. And remember that what that waiting is about is that your doctor is gathering all your information and identifying what is going on here and how to best treat that, and using good science with that. But what you can do in the meantime is, this is the time when you can gather your support system. And I think most cancer patients that I work with, one of the hardest things to do is to accept support, ask for support. Usually you don't have to ask. Usually people are showing up right away. So that's a time to really allow that support to come in. At the University of Arizona Cancer Center, we have 7 social workers on staff, and we recommend all of our patients meet with a social worker, and they will help you access additional resources, but they'll also help you process what you're going through emotionally too. So.
Lisa, you're a professional navigator. You're a hand holder at one of the worst times of life and all. What do people seem to need most in those moments that you can provide in your role?
Well, I think one of the biggest fears is how am I gonna work this out? Just kind of an overall logistics. So if people are from out of town, through the American Cancer Society, we have a hotel partners program where hotels will actually donate nights for patients and caregivers. We have some volunteer drivers that will drive patients to appointments. And then, we also have a Look Good, Feel Better program where they get free makeup and kind of how to deal with skin changes during that. So there's a lot of resources that are out there. But the biggest question I get most often is, how am I going to pay for this?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest concern. And if you're paying for your treatment, how are you going to pay your rent? Or if you're paying for your rent, how are you going to pay your treatment? So there's a lot of questions surrounding that.
Yeah, like you say, this goes well beyond, the medical help. It's help getting through everyday life as you transition into this new mode. Sherry, I know you're involved with an effort. You've been the founder of the Bagot program that can help people move forward.
It really can. And I just want to piggyback on with asking for help. And I think it's really an important thing to do. Start thinking about the things that you routinely do that you might not be able to some days. So just asking someone to pick up your children or grocery shop, maybe do some light housekeeping, cooking meals. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And if a lot of people want to cook for you, just put it in the freezer. But really just accept that help and realize that it's going to help you, but it really helps the other person too. And with Bagot, we have it's so available, and it's a bag of resources that you can get through your medical provider.
Yeah, you have it with you. Yeah,
I do.
Right.
It just looks just like this, and you get it from your medical provider, radiology oncologist. They're located all over Tucson and southern Arizona. And it has in it this great navigation binder that helps you get organized. And I think that's the first thing. You get so overwhelmed with all this paperwork and reports, right? So this is really a great tool to have. And really, everybody should have a medical binder, whether you have cancer or not. But it has places to keep your appointment cards. It has great tips and suggestions. It has patient forms that you're asked to fill out 1 million times, so if you fill it out once, you have it. Just little things that really help you, calendars. And what we try to promote is that people write down questions. You're gonna start having questions right away. So write them down, and then when someone gives you an answer to that question, you have a place to refer back to it. Because it's just as we were saying, when you cue in on certain words, right? Cancer, or your type of cancer, you're really not hearing what's said a lot of times. So having someone go with you to appointments to write down all that information is, and help you, Michelle called it her battle buddy. And I think that's exactly, you need that support person to go to appointments. So, and then keeping track of all your reports and blood work. We have these wonderful medical electronic systems now, but they all don't talk to one another, and if you happen to have to move away or whatever, it really helps to keep your own information. So it's all right there, and we have one lady that told us, it's like my Bible, I take it everywhere, and she's like 3 or 4 years out, and she's still carrying this to all her appointments.
It's a proven help, yeah. Want to remind everyone now, azpm.org/cancer, a lot of the resources we're talking about Bagot, and we're going to talk about more things in the next few minutes that will help you and your family and your friends through this. Right now, feel free to call the number on your screen. These are our patient navigators, Arizona Oncology folks from Tucson Medical Center, University of Arizona Cancer Center, American Cancer Society, volunteering their time now. These folks are the experts. They know where to go for resources when you're first diagnosed. They're not here for medical advice, but they can certainly point you in the right direction, and you'll have them at your disposal until 8 o'clock tonight. If you don't get through to them, one of our volunteers at AZPM will take your information. We will get back to you. We will help you through the difficulties that you may be facing right now. Sean, as you're going through all this, you can't forget about trying to stay as healthy as you can. There's an integrative care for cancer patients now. You want to take care of the rest of you while you're fighting this major fight.
Absolutely. And one of the things we know is that patients cope better if they have support. And a lot of patients come in and they're very interested in complementary and alternative medicine or integrative medicine, and they have questions about it. They wonder if they ought to do that instead of chemo, and at the University of Arizona Cancer Center, we do have integrative medicine providers who are family medicine trained doctors who can help navigate that. The primary piece here is to understand the difference and also how you interact with your oncologist with that. So complementary medicine is any kind of treatment that's used in conjunction with a conventional medical treatment. And this can be anything from vitamins and herbs to yoga, acupuncture. There's a long list of things. Alternative treatment is treatment that's instead of cancer treatment. So there's many things out there. Many of them are not evidence-based or proven with the literature. So what you want to make sure you do is talk to your doctor and let them know everything that you're doing and everything that you're taking, because many of these things we don't know. If you're taking vitamins and herbs and things like that, we don't know if they would have an effect on your treatment or not. So it's important to discuss those with your doctor.
In your own experience and your experience as professionals, do cancer patients open up fairly quickly to these other kinds of treatments that can help them in the broader picture?
I think if they begin to, many of them are, they're automatically open, but they might have been open prior to a cancer diagnosis. But then sometimes when patients begin to just the suffering that just doesn't end, if it's nausea, vomiting, pain, they will turn to those for some of those do have some evidence to help with some of those things, so they will turn to those. And I think what it does is it gives them a sense of control and that they are actually doing something to help themselves. And it does improve coping, and improved coping improves outcomes. So,
Lisa, you mentioned financial problems earlier now. What are you able to do for patients who, on top of worrying about everything else, money's a biggie in this case?
Yeah, it's that's always what takes up most of my time is trying to find the right resources for somebody. There are some organizations out there that do offer help on co-payments and medication payments, and then there's always a lot of people don't think to look at Social Security disability as an option. So there's actually a list of fast-tracked, it's called compassionate allowances, but a lot of cancers are on that list. And if one of those cancers is on that list, they'll actually fast-track that person's Social Security application. So there's options like that. And then you can look to local options, but a lot of times local options are out of funds. So it's a lot of looking to just look for any little piece you can find. Somebody might offer a gas card, somebody might offer copay assistance, but it's a lot of looking to see who has that and if they offer it for the person's diagnosis.
And the medications you need can be extremely expensive. There are some of the big drug makers who will be able to help you with that cost at times.
Some of the drug companies will actually pay for the medication for patients who are underinsured or uninsured. So there are a lot of things out there, which is not to say they're easy to find or, we have the magic bullet for every person, but there's stuff to look for. So.
Because you don't want to delay that treatment. You don't want to hold back your own well-being for that consideration, so you want to line it up. A helping hand.
Yes, this is a book that we we give patients. This is free. This is cancercare.org. You can order this for free. And it's a resource for debt management, legal resources, financial resources that help. They tap you into funds and financial sources to help with maybe co-pays or transportation. And it is divided up by state also, so you can go in and see what's in your own state.
Talking to your doctor, this is a person that I think all of a sudden would look like God to a cancer patient. This is the person with all the answers, the person I need to cling to all of a sudden. In your own experiences and from what you know now as professionals, how do you talk to your doctor? How do you engage that person, stay connected so that you're as at ease as possible with what you're learning from that oncologist?
I think to really start writing down your questions, which we have talked about, and there's even a book in Bagot about formulating questions and who to go to for your questions and other coping resources in there that are extremely usable for this. But I think what's really important is to think about second opinions. and not feel that you're challenging your doctor about that, because docs these days are really used to that. And and if your doctor doesn't feel comfortable, probably it's time to really look for a second opinion. But and then also, I think when you're communicating with your doctor, make sure you understand. So when you have that question and pose it, but you don't exactly understand what the answer is, I always suggest that people, before you leave the office or you leave that phone call where you're posing your question, make sure you reframe it, you summarize it, you repeat it, and make sure that you don't get off the phone or you don't leave that office until you really fully understand what's been said to you.
Sean, going back to your own experience, what would you do differently about your own experience as a cancer patient that you would advise folks who have been newly diagnosed now?
Probably not to try to do it all myself.
Yeah, you did. You did that, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know that there were medical oncology social workers, and I was not here in Tucson, but where I was, they didn't have that sort of support. But that's what I would say is just let yourself be supported and find the resources and the financial things. Like when I was diagnosed, I didn't know what disability was. I'd never had to encounter certain things. Never encountered FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act. I didn't really know what that meant. And so those are things that I didn't even know how to ask questions about it. So I would just say to anybody who's newly diagnosed is find the individuals who know those things and learn about them and know your benefits.
I want to remind everyone now the information we're talking about is at azpm.org/cancer. Feel free to go there at any time, pick up on more of what we're saying and all these resources. And again, that number on your screen, feel free to call it. We urge you to do that now. Speak with one of these patient navigators. These are experts. We have folks here from Arizona Oncology, Tucson Medical Center, University of Arizona Cancer Center, and the American Cancer Society. They volunteered their time this evening. They're waiting for your calls. They want to help. Even if you have a question you feel might be way out there or you're not sure about a certain thing right now, not even sure you need them, call them and find out about the resources. They'll be at those phone lines until 8 o'clock this evening, and if the lines are busy, one of our volunteers will make sure that you get a call back as soon as possible. It's an excellent resource, very valuable. We want you to take advantage of that now. This is such a rare opportunity and so very important. So please feel free to call the number on your screen or tap into that website. It's all there for you. We want you to know that. Lisa, a lot of times as the navigator, you're treating not only the patient, but you're helping families and friends and spouses through this. What do they need the most in your experience, and where do you guide them?
Well, I think the thing that caregivers and family members forget the most is to take care of themselves. So I advise that they do some things to take care of themselves, because when the patient comes to a point where they really need them there, they need to not be so tired that they're not there, because if they're not taking care of themselves, they can't take care of anybody else. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, for the families to really, it's a caregiver in any situation, be it Alzheimer's or what have you. A lot of families run into that, and they just get, their energy's gone, their time, and they're just,
I think sometimes it's harder on the family than it is on the patient, because the family wants so badly to do something to help, or to take on the pain for the patient, or to take over anything for the patient that they could take on. Nobody wants to see their loved one hurting. So.
Yeah. I'm sure all of you have seen situations to where, at certain times, perhaps the patient is the strongest person among all those folks who are close to them. And it's very important. A point we could talk more about is be your own advocate, Sherry, through all this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, gathering resources to do that are really important, like Bagot, and it comes in different formats and in English and Spanish, and it's free. I think looking at all the resources that you see, that are here, that we've been mentioned, people like Tucson Cancer Conquerors are out there. They're doing wonderful things with, they have a meditative walking group. They have exercise programs. They have gardening. So there are a lot of things out there. that could really be helpful.
Ask a personal question. I remember, my mother developed breast cancer when I was in high school. I remember she survived it, and I remember just the experience made her a different person. And in many ways, she would have told you a better person, a person who lived life more post-treatment diagnosis and all. What about in your situation? Did it change you at all? How did it change your life?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it changed my life. I mean, when you face your mortality, that's going to change you. And I think that I developed a very deep sense of trust through this experience, and the trust really hit something deep in me that I don't have quite the need to have such control over a lot of things in my life, and things actually do work out better when I let go and allow, and cancer requires that. You cannot control what's happening. And it strikes such fear, and you want to gain control in a really, really bad way, deep way, and you can't. And so I think that was what I experienced on the other side of it, was a real deep sense of trust.
Lisa, you were only 8 years old when you were diagnosed. I guess in some ways that was probably a blessing because you were
I think so.
insulated somewhat from reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I never heard that word before. I know when my mom was told, she passed out. And when I was told, I just wanted to know about my milkshake.
Your milkshake that day, yeah.
I had no idea what it was. So for me, it really wasn't something I was that afraid of. It later spread to my lungs and my lymph nodes, which, then I sort of knew it was serious, but just was like, okay, so what are we doing next? What do I got to do next? There was never a time when I felt like it was not going to be okay. I just felt like I could take on the world. I was all the way up to 10 years old when I went into remission, and I just thought, what's next? What's next? We'll do that next.
You're a survivor leading a happy life now, yeah.
Yeah, a lot less fear, I think, when you're a kid.
Is it safe to say, Sherry, I'll ask you, is it safe to say that your experience with cancer led you down your professional path now to where you want to help others?
Absolutely, it did. I was a teacher and actually worked in mental health too for a while. And I think that I just saw, for me, I was getting plenty of information about my tumor and treatment, but not how to cope with it. And I had teenage sons, and it was a really difficult situation. I didn't know how to talk to them about these things, and so it really led me down the path to fill that gap for folks, that coping with cancer, with diagnosis and treatment, is a really big issue. And it is. I found out that it was not just me. A lot of people have trouble coping with it. So it was actually a great opportunity for me to really start Bagot and to help a lot of people. So it was great.
I want to remind everyone, you mentioned Bagot, all the things we're talking about this evening, azpm.org/cancer. That's the place to go now to tap into a lot of the resources that we're discussing tonight. And again, we have a little bit of time left, but want to let you know that our experts are going to be around until 8 o'clock this evening to take your calls. The number on your screen. These are patient navigators from Arizona Oncology, Tucson Medical Center, University of Arizona Cancer Center, the American Cancer Society, answering your questions, offering advice about resources. Now, not medical advice, but where to go to get the answers that you need. We're all touched by cancer at all stages of our life. We all know someone who has been diagnosed, a family member, a friend. It's all too prevalent these days. Luckily, the resources are better, the help is better. Modern medicine is making a lot of progress, so please call the number on your screen and tap in if you will. And that's all the time we have tonight. I want to thank our experts, Lisa Reynolds from the American Cancer Society here in Tucson. Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry Romanowski, founder and director of Bagot. You can learn much more about that at the website. And Sean Mulligan from the University of Arizona Cancer Center. Thank you all for your time and for your help.
Thank you.
To our volunteers, our navigators. Have a good night. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, there is help out there. You're not alone. Good night.